Hello, and welcome to my mountain. Well, this is a huge topic, one that as I started thinking about, was larger than 2 videos. While the first one to me seemed like a bit of a mess, hopefully you will see why it was a necessary need to make the video in the first place. Now, I will say here that I can't back up every single thing I say in this video with facts out the ass. That's what we have colored quadrupeds for. Most of this will just be my speculation on how things got this far. You can tab away from this video and just listen to it in the background as there will be no graphics added. As for personal opinion, I can't display what's in my head other than through the voice, so go fap, play a game, stand on your head, commit Sudoku, whatever you desire. In any case, let's begin. So in my last video we went a little into laws that limited the dishonesty and promoted free play in the media. We left off just before the birth of the internet. Let's start there. So when the internet was born, it was a slow and desolate place. Dial-up was the main connection theme of the internet, and it was highly unregulated at the time. With a lot of things, the porn industry had its hand in promoting a lot of things. I remember when I was in school, we were always told to be careful because porn made up at least 2/3 of the internet. Now, true or untrue, it just states that porn had a heavy impact on the web. Why am I bringing up porn though? One reason mostly. Porn on the internet was a huge potential new area of profit for companies. The money to be made here was astronomical, and porn did great. Who doesn't want to schlick and fap their troubles away? Porn, while not the reason why, promoted the growth of the internet, not only as recreation, but as a new way to expand businesses. Fast forward out of the 80s and 90s and we end up in the early 2000s. The internet is massive in popularity already. New companies have come and gone, and more people are using the internet for everything. I remember years ago, hearing about how the time people were watching TV was decreasing because now they could watch whatever they wanted online, and you can't watch TV if you're away on your computer. And thus brings us into my first point of just how the media got to where it is. The now. It became increasingly common for people to view the news online, rather than watch TV. As new mediums come out, that are bigger and better, people tend to go to the easier option. View news when and how you want online? Or have to wait and sit in one spot, until a certain time, just to watch something you won't be able to watch again later. The power of options and convenience wins in this case. I like to think that news subscriptions decrease as the internet became more readily available to people, at cheaper and cheaper costs for faster speeds, and I am sure that is true. If I was a betting man, I would bet on it. Anyway, the point is, as with anything else, the free market had chosen the easier, cheaper option. In this case, the internet, and while internet is not cheaper than a newspaper, the things you would do on the internet vastly outdid what you could do with a newspaper. Now, this makes it sound like with the internet, newspapers and TV news stations went the way of the dodo, and that's simply untrue, but saying there wasn't a hit to their bottom line would be outright lying. Newspapers have been in a decline since the invention of the television, I'm sure. News organizations have an uncanny ability to adapt. It's oddly unheard of, for an entire industry. News organizations have moved onto the internet, and they are not doing badly at all. People still need news, and people still want to know what's going on. But there is a monetary problem with the internet, and still is. Ads rule everything in the online world. It takes a lot of work to write articles and more work to make websites. On television, you just have to wear something nice, and have a decent stage. I am oversimplifying the process, as you need camera crews and sound engineers and makeup departments and such, but in the early days of the internet, this was commonly done, and people already knew how to do these things. But making web pages, buying servers and namespaces, they were new. Companies had to hire people to do these. And in order to do something, something needs to pay for it. Ads are one of the major ways to pay for things on the internet. Almost every site has them. It is a necessary evil. But ads need eyes to pay off. You need to get people to view them. You want your article to access as many people as possible. Now, I think here is a good place to also mention that while TV is in decline due to the internet, as well as newspapers, I think news companies are getting somewhat desperate. I did say not just a bit ago how the news organizations are incredibly adaptable at new mediums. And that is still true. In my last video I also talked about how TV outdid any other medium in terms of options and availability. Well, again, this is true, but this has never been any truer than when talking about the internet. If you don't like something, there are hundreds, even thousands of different places you can get nearly the same thing. Switch back to what I was saying about ads. Profits from TV stations and newspapers were on the decline. So the online aspect of news organizations had to be profitable, and not be a drain on resources. Remember in the last video I talked briefly about yellow journalism? Well, it came back. And with no regulation hardly, trying to keep the internet as a free place for all, nothing was ever done. Those online know the term, clickbait. This is the yellow journalism of today. I don't want to make this video all about online news media because we all know it's terrible, just a few more points and we can move on. With clickbait, you put out an ad, put a flashy photo and title, to get people to click it, and they visit your page, which in turn get their eyes on your page, so you get a more popular website and can charge more money for ad space, or receive more money for ads on your site. With this method people are able to get a gain in revenue to pay for their bills of server costing and employees and such. If not, we would not have nearly the amount of websites we do. Now, as I said, you put a flashy or funny photo and a catchy title to draw people in. Well, catchy is nice, but you know what sells? You want to know what sells really good? Sex, controversy, and mystery. Ever wonder why clickbait ads were always about finding local hot sexy singles in your area? Ever wonder why they had titles like "Find out this one trick Ron Jeremy does not want you to know to grow 8 inches tonight"? Ever wonder why you see ads with something along lines of, "You would not believe what just happened to her"? Because it sells. Humans are unnaturally inquisitive creatures. We want to know, we want to learn, and the need never grows old, we only learn to ignore it. Clickbait appeals to our inner cat. I think news organization learned from this and started using catchy titles to draw in eyes, not that they did not know how in the first place, as they have had years of practice with newspapers. They just got better and adapted to it. To follow that up, there is one more thing I want to bring up here last minute. I originally wanted to make a video on in of itself, but it fits in perfectly. With the addition of the typewriter, people were able to make articles even faster than by hand, and the same was for the computer. With just a computer and an internet connection, you could research something, form an article and have one up in a few hours, and in a lot of cases this is true. Does it seem strange how so many news sites all use the same buzzwords in the title, listing the same facts, almost word for word, no matter where you go it all sounds the same? Well, one, because there is only so many ways you can write about the same thing, but what I think is happening is something worse. Did I not just say with an internet connection and a computer you can write something in a few hours? Why bother with investigative journalism, when you can just copy something, reword it differently, put your own commentary on it, and put it up as your own and make money off of it? Investigating something takes time and manpower, and in today's world time is money. News companies are all spending money for your time. So the faster you can put something out, the greater your return on it can be. If it takes you an hour to make, let's say, a wood block, and you sell it, but a guy somewhere else is able to make 10 in the same time and sell them at the same price, why can't you? And then someone else is just going to buy it, maybe make a few changes and resell it for more. Why put boots on the ground when you can just read a few different things people have already written and write it in your own words and put it up? I don't want to accuse anyone of plagiarism, but it is really odd how so many of these online articles all seem to share a massive amount of material with little difference but in wording. The more you put out, the more ads you can sell, the more return on your investment you can get, right? We are going to come back to the internet at the end for the last talking point. But before we can do that, we need to look at television quickly. I could show you the clips, but I rather not, just to be safe. If I can find them I will link them. There are 2 incidents I want to reference, but first let me explain. Fear. Fear controls a lot of the actions we as humans make, and when you're running a business fear is important. Overcoming that fear and success leads to a better company in the future. Fear, I think, causes innovation in current companies to try to remain relevant, or fear failing and going under. The television is not going anytime soon, but its numbers are definitely being hit a lot due to online news organizations. What do you do when you are losing money? 2 things. You can either reinvent yourself, or you can convince people they need your product and how great it is. First thing I want to reference here is when the WikiLeaks documents were dropped about the Podesta emails, a certain newscaster made this statement. Also interesting is, remember, it's illegal to possess these stolen documents. It's different for the media. So everything you learn about this, you're learning from us. In the near-viral statement made on a CNN broadcast, on air, the reporter blatantly lied to the people. Why he made this statement I don't know, but to me, it seems as if he was desperately trying to tell the people, hey listen, you need us, you must listen to us, you have to if you want to know what's going on, or fear the consequences. They are desperate to keep you as a viewer. They need you as a viewer. And this brings me to the next clip, which I will link below. This time it was on MSNBC. Mika said to the effect, that it was the mainstream media's job to control what people think. Now when you set yourself up to be as inseparable in people's lives, and try to convince them people can't live in the world without you, you are only reflecting your mentality. News organizations, I am sure, have had this mentality for a very long time. So long so that they think it is their job to tell people what they think. The mainstream media is so self-centered in their egotism, they don't even realize it at time, and they act like they can do and get away with whatever they want, under the banner of journalism these days. That certainly is not true, but in reality, people are still going to watch their show and read their news. People always make a big fuss about how if we all rise out and stop watching this, or stop buying that, things will change. But no one ever stands up. So the news lies, trying to keep their viewers, and they are so self-centered they think they are so important they just admit it live on the air. Now of course, these could be minor slip-ups, or just the personal thoughts of the newscasters themselves, but that is highly unlikely, considering these people still have their jobs. They are still badly in need of people viewing their content. Viewing their content, now why does that sound similar? Because that is what YouTubers want, is it not? Odd, what do they have in common? Well, let's take a quick look at it. Trust me, we are almost done here, I hope. So we went over TV and online news organizations. From here on they will be one and the same, because they both are having this problem. The problem is views. They need more eyes on their content. With the rise of PC culture again and this third wave of feminism, everything is about being inclusive for all. They take the high moral high ground as their ideology, even if their practices are so far from it. This has made it highly infectious in the mainstream of anything. If you're against it, all they have to do is call you names and say you hate women or minorities, because they think they hold the moral high ground. I don't want to dive too deep into this, as I think most people can see this already. The point is, the ideology is popular to say the least, it's infectious but also inclusive. It is popular, and the mainstream media has caught on to this. They have been infected by this ideology and promote it every chance they get so they can then turn around and say, hey, we agree with you, boo white straight men, watch our news. It is better for them to do this, rather than having a PR disaster and have their name run in the mud, just because others are salty and do not agree. So they promote this idea, even at the cost of the facts of the real news. They actively try to push this narrative in hopes of gaining more views. They will take sides on things they have no business doing, considering their line of work. Eventually they will think they are right, and they too will try to take the moral high ground because again their egotism got to them. They will attack anyone who does not hold their ideas. In the recent political race, between Hillary and Donald Trump, this was extremely evident. They attacked Trump left and right, without mercy, twisting his words to make him the bad guy, so they can look all PC. Even when they are spouting lies and facts that are simply untrue, only added because real hard-working investigative journalism doesn't exist, they simply don't care because they have a narrative to push to make their content more easily digestible to more people. This is where the term, fake news came from, and why it is so prevalent in the day-to-day conversations about the media now. Here is where things get really untrue. I personally think sometimes news organizations produce untrue facts that have no basis in what's happening just to fit their narrative. Not twisting the truth, or reporting on something untrue, but simply outright making stories up. I am sure there have been cases of this, but I wouldn't bet on it. So it's a long line from the days of the newspapers, to radio to television to cable networks up to the internet. We talked about a lot and there is only one thing left. I want to go back to what I was saying about fear. They are in fear of losing their numbers and profits and going under, as they should. They are in fear, yes, but what? I said that news organizations were incredibly adaptive, and that is true. They have been able to evolve along the years due to power and money. But power and money does not mean much on the internet. Take YouTube, I have no money, no power and no influence. But here you are still watching this video. Do you know what that says? That says that anyone, of any background is able to hop right on the internet and make a name for themselves, or at least in the beginning days. It is a bit harder to do now. The power of customizations and options are huge on the internet, and that is what news organizations are afraid of. In order to start a news channel or TV broadcast station, or a new radio station, you need massive equipment and money. Not everyone has these. On the internet, you just need a computer and internet far cheaper. You can get a lot of what you need to make videos program-wise for free online, and you don't even need a webcam, or a mic. This allows mass amounts of people to get online and start producing content. Because the internet is so open, that content is all competing with each other for your time, the viewer's precious time. When news organizations hop into this race, their power and money can only take them so far, unlike in the real world. CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, all of these are now competing against a guy sitting on his computer making videos trying to get your time. Multiply that by thousands and thousands of people. Yes, the news industry is adaptable, but that doesn't help too much when you have thousands of competitors. The news industry is afraid of the power of the people who can create and take your time away from them, causing them to lose influence and in the end game, lose their profit margin. That is how the news media got to where it is in my personal opinion. With dishonest practices with clickbait-type titles and headlines. Lies being told on air by their anchors, showing the true mindset in the media. The need to cut costs and make a bigger profit margin has led to laziness. Backlash from the people and the drop in views has caused them to adopt and learn from a toxic ideology, in turn making them even more so dishonest. This being what is causing them to produce fake news. Causing more and more people to turn to alternative news sources and more drops in views, causing the media to double down on their practices, asking why things are not working. We have one final and small thing left to ask: is the news media important? After what I just said, it couldn't possibly be, and if it is, how can we fix it? Of course the mainstream media is necessary. It may not be the same companies years down the line, but you need bigger companies that are able to get boots on the ground in dangerous situations overseas, or willing to pay someone to go out into the world and get a real story from real people with real facts. Now I know I said journalism is getting lazy, and that's sort of true. I mostly meant that in terms of online news publishers. They still do some investigative journalism, but with the amount of fake things on the internet it's hard to do. Regardless, having a mainstream media allows for companies to bring us real investigative news. So yes, the mainstream media is needed, but the companies themselves, not so much. They will also eventually go under and be replaced with something better, as it is the will of the free market. So how can we fix the current situation? As with a lot of things, is not a simple easy answer. I don't have degrees in everything and have every little bit of knowledge that the problem needs to be solved. I can only offer ideas that no one will listen to. 1. Reintroducing nonpartisan and equality rules on communications is bad. I would support it, but honestly, I also see it as limiting the right to free press. I am fine with partisan news organizations. It allows focus on different topics that their constituents have, rather than trying to pander to everyone. Laws are not the way to go. How about funding? Well, I don't think you can really do much on that angle either, unless you have people willing to fund what they like, or you have some sort of federally based commission that monitors the news and gives grants or something based on the quality of news. That is a horrible idea, and I wouldn't support that even if on my deathbed. It is a system ripe for corruption. Honestly, the merit-based system is the best system. The same system we have now. Let them do what they want. If they want to be impartial, let them. If they don't, that's a heck of a lot better, especially for undecided minds when it comes to politics. If they don't do well, the people respond by not watching them and the free market goes through the rows. There really is no fixing the system because it is technically working as it should. If the media doesn't get its act together, they will fail. That is how things work. They are not as important as they have come to think they are, due to ages of little to no competition in radio, and in television, on this scale. It just takes time. Maybe there is an answer, but I do not have it. If you have one, leave a comment. I would love to know. I don't think there is a perfect system, and it all leads back to because people are imperfect beings. I want to thank you for watching this, watching me, giving me your oh so precious time. That's what we all used to pay. Time. Money is just a representation of time spent doing things. We pay time to watching things on TV and spend time to play video games. We spend time for food and water. We spend time to do the things we like to do. And you spent your time listening to me and my thoughts. Thank you for your time. I am Nothins, and I hope you spend your time wisely.